the marriage rate is at the lowest rate it's ever been recorded since they started recording. I'm in the business of giving men the tools that they need to make themselves better men. So it's like the building blocks, the information, the data. So if you're going to do something with yourself, at least do it from, an educated, perspective.
I'm just curious too, because when I was mentioning before the podcast, when I started looking at your content, I got The Rational Male a few years ago, went through the book, and when I was looking through content within the red pill circles, it kind of caught me off guard because I was like, is the intention here just to try to get laid? For example, when I watched Fresh and Fit, right? And I've seen some of their content, and I know you've collaborated with them. I understand what's super useful about the red pill and all the data and all the statistics, because it's helped me navigate the dating marketplace well too. But as I've potentially watched like Fresh and Fit, right? When I see when they bring certain women on, there's an archetype of women that continue to come onto that podcast. And I've dated that type of woman. And that's a woman that you want to avoid. But the interesting thing is when you look at the comments and you just pay attention to what people are talking about when it comes to that, it's like, of course you don't want to date those women anyway. Like, those wouldn't even be women you want to marry. So I'm curious as to when it comes to that, or do you have any idea of what men should be looking for if they're trying to find someone to actually be with, to marry? Because you know what I mean by the archetype of woman that you see on that podcast, correct? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, ratchet hose. Essentially, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, that's what they call themselves. So
yeah,
that's the joke, right? But it's I think that when you look at it in whole, now you got to remember that Fresh and Fit is one show built really on one template. Okay, which is let's have a conversation. Let's have some discourse here. And the women that they are sourcing are from Miami. Let's just be honest. Okay. So if they're there but you got to remember that the women who have gone through there in the course of a year right now have not just been from Miami. They've been from all over the place. They've been from, I remember the first show I was on, I met a girl from I think she was Canada or Montana or something like that. So they're there from somewhere else. So, but is that mindset sort of pervasive of that area? Yeah, I'm certain that it is. When you are looking at I don't see why anybody holds the after hours show of Fresh and Fit as some sort of dating criterion.
I understand that. It's just against the most views.
Well, you're not there looking for if you're watching that show, odds are you're probably not looking for a woman to marry. Okay. None of those women are sort of marriageable women. And that's actually one of the things that Myron and Fresh and myself have talked about over and over and over again.
Gotcha. Is
that women are less marriageable these days and men are actually less marriageable these days as well. And I've talked about that, for a long time, both on my show and on their show as well. So it's not so much about why are we watching Fresh and Fit to find a wife. that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
Second of all is when we're talking about marriage today, I think a lot of people get for instance, you started out with saying, well, for somebody looking for a long-term relationship or looking for a marriage or something like that, these women are not exemplary of the kind of woman that I would want to get. Yeah, I agree.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now on this podcast, Mark, Andrew, and I, we talk about fasting a lot. We talk about the ketogenic diet and a lot of different types of diets. But Bubs Naturals has a product. They have the collagen protein, which is amazing. They have these apple cider vinegar gummies, which are like crack. But they have
they have these
MCT oil powder packets that I've never used to do this, but in the morning I'll wake up and I'll put it in coffee, and the smoothness, number one, in terms of the mixing, is amazing, but the consistency of my energy through the day because of the MCT oil powder is peak. Andrew, how's your experience with it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's the best way to start the day. You're satiated, you're energized, and you're just ready to crush the day. So if you guys want to get in on this MCT oil powder, head over to bubsnaturals.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Again, Bubs Naturals, promo code PowerProject to save 20% off. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
However, what it is it's an example in the most extreme sense of female nature when it comes comes to what is it that women are looking for? Is it looks? Is it money? Is it, is it game? Is it, social skills? What is it? And then the other problem that a lot of guys run into is it even worth getting married today under present circumstances? So when we start out being marriage minded, if that is, I've been married for 25 years. I've been with the same woman for about 26 and a half now. So when people come to me and they say, well, Rollo, I can't believe you're coming out against marriage. And I was like, I'm not coming out against marriage. I actually think marriage as an institution is a great thing. And people want to throw rocks at me for even just saying that. But hear me out is what I'm saying, is that the reason why I am critical of marriage right now is because I'm critical of the way that we do it now. Not the actual institution of it, or clearly it has been the foundation and the bedrock of Western society for God knows, for millennia now. I get that. I'm not against marriage. I'm not against long-term commitment. What I am against is the way that we do marriage right now. And so when we have this sort of old order 20th century way of thinking that that's the ultimate goal, that's the end goal of all of this, we have to look at what is that state? What is that goal state? And figuring out, I want to be with somebody in the long term. I want to have babies. I want to, increase the fertility rate, whatever it is, whatever your reasons are for wanting to be in a long-term relationship, you have to look at how those relationships are formed. And that's really what throws a lot of people off about my work and about really even just watching the After Hours show, or anybody in the Manosphere, it doesn't have to be me, is that we are dealing with old order 20th century ways of thinking about dating, about thinking about, coming together as couples, as forming families. Now we start talking about things like polyamory and everything else, and alternative, relationship lifestyles. The reason we're having this conversation right now is because we're transitioning from 1999 up to 2022 right now, and we're still trying to figure this out. It's advancing so quickly. And society has changed so much, and we're wondering, why is it that the marriage rate is at the lowest rate it's ever been recorded since they started recording those numbers? Why is it that we see certain statistics in SSRIs being prescribed for women? Why is it that we see the autism rate in children rise just like skyrocket from 2000 up to where we are right now? There's all of these, we see all this evidence, we have access to all the statistics, and we're not asking why. And so when you say, well, these women don't seem like somebody that I would want to marry. Yeah, that's because your old order way of thinking about like forming relationships and everything else is coloring what you're seeing on the screen, or what you're hearing coming out of my mouth, or the statistics that I'm bringing up that are really kind of challenging, I think, to a lot of our old order beliefs. That's where a lot of the conflict and the contention comes when I'm putting something out there, because I'm trying to be as analytical as possible, and people are sort of seeing that through this emotional lens because they're attached to the way that they think that things ought to be. I'm Generation X, right? I lived in a time before there were cameras and YouTube and cell phones and everything else, and I've gone from that, and I met my wife back in like 1995, right?
I was 3.
To get up to where, to get up to where I am right now, right? So think of all the dramatic changes that have just happened in just 30 years.
Do you think there's less marriage because there's maybe less religion here in the United States? And where did marriage originate from?
Okay, well, marriage is not, believe it or not, Christianity does not have a monopoly on marriage. Monogamy has been a thing, a human thing for a long time, simply because the model of raising children in a monogamous commitment seems to be the most successful. There is a positively masculine, conventionally masculine father and a conventionally feminine mother. That has always been the recipe for success throughout most of human history right now. So, you're looking at pair bonding, or you're looking at monogamy in terms of sort of like an evolutionary perspective versus like, well, is it religion? Is it society? Is it a social thing? Muslims and Jews and everyone else still get married. Hell, the Japanese people in feudal Japan got married. So there's something to it. There's a human dynamic that goes along with that. Is it because we've lost religion? I think we have more or less lost religion as a result of really the sexual revolution, but I don't think it's so much a loss. It's funny you should ask me that. I had a guy from Epic Times was asking me about incels, and he was asking me about the fact that he thought that there was a rise or in atheism right now. And I go, that's absolutely not what I'm seeing at all in the Manosphere. If anything, I think there's guys who are really looking for like that. They let's say they identify themselves as what are called nuns, right? Nones. So according to, like, say, the last census, I think in the United States, when people are asked, do you believe in God? They say, yeah, I believe in God, but I don't believe in any organized religion. But I'm like spiritual, but not religious kind of thing. I'm sure you probably heard that come out of the mouths of so many people. But it's, so how do we sort of parse that out? How do we weigh that interest in whatever religion or really how we're going to structure societies based on what we think should be the right way to do things religiously, or versus, what we're seeing happen right now. I don't think that it's so much a lack of interest or, a rise in atheism as it is this sort of confusion as to what to do with oneself in this new sort of global sexual marketplace, at least as far as marriage is concerned. If you have read any of my books, my fourth book is called Religion, and I sort of detail and explore a lot. I did 3 years of research on that book to put things into sort of, I guess, a red pill light when it comes to intersexual dynamics and the I guess, confluence of religion right there as well. So is it a lack of religion? I don't think it's so much of a lack of religion. I think guys are still very much interested in it. I mean, I know guys who are turning Orthodox Eastern, Christianity is a big deal. And then on the same, in the same breath or in the same Twitter, thread, I'll see somebody who wants to do ayahuasca and, take mushrooms and have a religious experience so they can sort of heal their emotional wounds from childhood. And so it's like, there's this want definitely for that spirituality. But as far as the absence of religion, I think that's just, it's probably a symptom of a bigger disease.
Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel because we continue to bring you peak content on this channel. Obviously, you guys are here. You guys have watched the whole video. So like, comment, subscribe. All right. See you later.